stuck for an answer. That's the bear.
So first off, welcome, and thanks so much for making the time with us. I thought it would be interesting first to just kind of put what you're doing now in context of what you used to do, if you will. So would you mind just letting us know a little bit about, where are you? Are you from London? Or are you from, where were you born? And the beginnings of Nigel, if you will.
Okay, rather quickly. Born in Yorkshire and went to London aged 21, 22. So spent most of my life living in London. Through my corporate career, spending most days of the week traveling around the world. Mostly working in the media publishing space, running some well-known publishing companies. So I've had quite a lot of input in ministries of education and schools all around the world, as well as in the UK, and more importantly in Liverpool.
Okay. So you had, prior to what you do now, a largely corporate career, was that right? Working for, some of the big ones, Sky and...
Well, Thomson, Chrysalis, the Records Group, Granada, and then HarperCollins.
Right, okay. So, typically folks who come out from that industry, especially having done, if you don't mind saying, relatively well, oftentimes as they advance, they kind of, they don't necessarily leave that world. You perhaps at this stage in your career, you'll be sitting in lots of government boards, but certainly company boards, maybe playing golf, and other such things. And instead, you decided to take this, if you will, left field turn into education. I'm just wondering, what was the impetus to take you from where you were to where you are now?
Yeah, it's a good question. You politely said I look very old, and I'm very old. Through working in education, your sort of day job came alongside state education. And I bumped into a few people in 2003-04 who were doing education policy for Tony Blair. And they looked at the 2003 census, and they decided that the 10 most deprived communities in England, and they mapped on top of that the worst performing schools. And there was a real worrying correlation. So they started talking to people who had opinions and energy, and to cut a long story short, they said to me, a guy from Manchester, come and have a look at Liverpool. It was a fairly brief outline. We'd like you to look around 2 schools, and we'd like you to get involved. So one fateful day in 2004, came up to Liverpool, came up to Everton, Anfield, walked around 2 state schools. It's quite shocking. And
what were those 2 schools?
Breckfield Community School and Anfield Comprehensive. Breckfield had been in special measures for 10 years or more. And Anfield was not in good shape. And
what were some of the features when you say it's special measures that the school that's in trouble?
You're talking about a chaotic place for a child to get educated, not necessarily safe. And what state education should be about is opportunity. It shouldn't be a silo where you get contained until you're 16 and then you get let out to fend for yourself. I've always believed that education is a great liberator, and no better liberator of the working class than a great education. Because you come out with a great set of qualifications, but also it sort of incentivizes you to think about the world in a very positive way, and you're left with an inquiring mind. So whatever you choose to do in life, you're very optimistic about education.
Okay. So you arrive on the scene in 2003-04.
Yeah.
You're asked effectively by Tony Blair, his people, if you will, to come and check out a situation. And then I guess at some point there's a decision, am I going to engage in this thing or not, isn't there?
Yeah, that didn't take very long. I was sort of recounting the story the other day. After we toured the second school, and seen that there was only one serviceable toilet in the whole school because everyone else was smashed.
Wow.
And students were
How many students were in that school?
About 1,000. But
one toilet for 1,000?
Well, on the boys' side. And so students went home to go to the toilet.
Wow.
We arrived on a fairly rainy day, which is quite common in Liverpool. And there was more rain coming through the changing rooms than coming out of the showers. And all the time, everyone that was surrounding us kept saying, we're only here for the children. And I thought, like hell you are.
Right.
So at the end of the tour, we sort of found ourselves in the playground. And I remember looking at a chap called John Latham, who was the COO of Liverpool University at the time. He blew out his cheeks, took his glasses off, and I remember saying to him, we're probably the best chance these kids have got. Now, reckless at the time, and over the years, I've thought many times, maybe I was a little bit reckless. But that was the feeling. I'd come from a similar background, and state provision for me was positive, happy, and hadn't done me any harm. And we were slightly angry at what this deprived, challenged community were being offered.
Right. And how does something get so bad?
I think that certain communities get lost, they get left. And certainly in the city, North Liverpool, historically, has not probably had the rub of the green. And people talk about the politicisation of education post-Tony Blair. I think politicalisation of education has happened in local communities for 150 years, but nobody wants to talk about it. And it's labelled the postcode lottery now. Change the label, but it's been happening for 100 years. You live in that street, your parents may not work, they may suffer with illness, and if you go to that school, well, that's it, your life chances end there and then.
Wow.
And we all know it happens. In certain education authorities, sink schools, as they're called, are quite convenient because they're a nice dropping-off zone for students you don't want. And being in the private sector, I was rather deluded because I thought that's what local and central government were there for. They were to protect the citizen and level the playing field. And I learned very quickly that that's far from their thoughts.
So I guess, was this the beginning of the academies?
It was.
Thing, if you will.
Yes,
yeah.
so we were very popular. And
does that mean you were not warmly received?
That's an understatement. Teachers, unions, I remember one union person saying that we'll destroy you. So we said, nice to see you again. Don't call us, we'll call you. So we tended to deal with their stuff in a very jokey way because it was a good way of processing it. Okay. And sadly, you know, a lot of the early sponsors, we all received silly death threats, and people can find you through Companies House. So I ran the gauntlet of hostile mail, but people who tend to threaten you don't spell very well and the grammar needs work. So,
then how did you, so if you're met with this wall of negativity, it sounds like, I'm sure not entirely, but the most vocal people were being hugely negative. How did you kind of break the back of it? Was it just time? Was there
time's one of the continuums. The other one is never take a backward step. It's like a strategy in business. You surround yourself with the right people, come up with half a good idea, and just stick to it. And the best strategies sometimes are quite straightforward. And our strategy was to get to the parents and the children and to show them that they are deserving of the best. Just because they live in Liverpool and Anfield, they shouldn't settle for second best because that wasn't what life was about. And they deserve the best. And that's where we start. That was the agenda.
Okay.
And we told everyone else to disappear.
Well, because obviously there have been many before you who have tried and either come up short, or I'm sure there are successes as well, but by and large it seems people haven't. So I guess I'm wondering, were there any? How did you effectively show them that they deserve this better way of doing things? Was it
by delivering? When I remember the early public meetings that I hosted, they were thinking back to the previous speaker. Liverpool is full of emotion and opinion. Yeah. And boy, there was a lot of opinion and emotion on show. But the challenge, I think there was one.
Going back to that, did you tell me once about large public meeting where the parents were being actually blocked out by the unions or something like that?
I knew you'd raise this.
Sorry.
Yeah. Once upon a time, yes, we organised a public meeting in one of the schools, and about 5 minutes before I was all ready, and the room was empty. And I thought, all right, we've got another problem here. And it wasn't like North Liverpool, because people want to come and talk to you. Occasionally, they want to come and talk at you, but they want to come and talk to you. And a cleaner walked past with these sort of scissor devices, and out the side of his mouth he said, "They're outside in the car park." Because people in Liverpool don't grass people up. So we went to the head teacher's window and looked outside, and the car park was full of people. And what transpires, there was a remnant of a political group, which I won't name, who were blocking the main door, and they were only allowing people in if people signed to their petition for something else they were doing in the city. So we removed that blockage, and the meeting started 10 minutes later. But that was fairly symptomatic of what we faced.
Mm. Interesting. Do you want to reveal how you removed that blockage?
I don't know. I think I might have slipped and bumped into somebody.
I think that's, I mean, part of it is, I mean, in listening to your stories is that I guess your personal willingness to kind of deal with these difficult situations, ultimately physical intimidation, by often, whether it be by students or larger, if you will, by adults, and I think that's probably got to be a part of it. And I assume that the folks that you work with also are willing to, if you will, hold their ground.
It goes back to the first presentation about courage. You can be successful in life, you can be intelligent, you can be energetic, and you can do that with moral purpose and a social responsibility. You can. And if you combine those things, you can achieve pretty much what you want to achieve, because the sort of funny story you repeated there, or you got me to repeat, the biggest challenge is just the general inertia in society and the general bureaucracy. You know, we've spent years, months, years probably in meetings waiting for the civil service or the public sector to approve a decision or move something forward. So the greater battle is the resilience to deal with people who are doing their job, but they don't care passionately about the end product.
Wow.
Whereas our strategy was about the end product, right, and making sure that the children in that community, irrespective of what the circumstances were, whatever happened, we were going to deliver them world-class education.
Mm-hmm. So you take over these schools. Do you want to take us through from what happened from there?
So, merged the schools in 2006, dealt with lots of the tribal Everton Anfield stuff, got some of the students out of the red sweatshirts and some out of the blue sweatshirts, merged them onto one campus, ran a fairly fast change management, new ethos, culture, put the students right at the heart of it, gave them the opportunity to design the school badge and to shape how their school needed to run. And whilst we were doing that, we went off building a new campus.
Right.
And we invested £40 million of government money, but invested, not spent, in a lovely campus in North Liverpool.
Okay, is that North Liverpool Academy?
North Liverpool Academy. We did supply some pictures. I don't quite know
Let me
where
see
they
if
are.
I've got the clicker. Gemma, do you still have the?
And the building, people say buildings are not important in schools. Well, they are. And in areas of deprivation, they provide an interesting missing link because they're about optimism. So we put a building up that the North Liverpool has not seen the like of before. Right. People will argue about the architecture, but it was a statement to deal with some of the regeneration and deprivation issues. So we put up this striking 3-story building with the best materials that money could buy. Right. And we shaped the school as part of the strategy. So we took the school up, I know this sounds very trite, 3 stories, so the students could see outside of the community. To some children in our community, coming into Liverpool 1 is something they do at Christmas. Right. And we wanted to get them to think that that's their right. Exploring the world is their right.
Cool. Rob, do we have Nigel's slides?
Yeah.
The video.
Shall
we go ahead and shall we play that now?
Yeah, we'll talk over the top, but the idea is that they're just to give you visuals of...
Okay, cool.
There you go, there's the...
So this is the new school?
Yeah, this is a new school.
Fantastic. Good. So you've set that up, and obviously that took... And then I guess your more recent projects have been very different, haven't they?
Well, we got that going in 2009, and then I went back to I project managed the build of that school, then I went back to work, and went back into publishing to work for HarperCollins, and sort of got on with my day job, but still contributed a lot of time to the school. And then we started thinking about pathways for our students. And you know, the old debate of 50% of students go into academia, what do the rest do? And we were sort of quite restless about what we could do for our students who don't go to university. I mean, when we took over the two schools, zero children went to university.
Yeah.
And within our first year, I think 15 went, and now 35 to 40 go every year. So we were thinking, right, how can we do something significant for the students who have got different learning styles and different interests? So we started talking to the city about 14 to 19 strategy and all that rather boring education stuff. And we got little feedback, if not any feedback, because we were the North Liverpool Academy. We were the disruptive innovator.
Are you the enemy, in a sense, or? Last
September, after a whirlwind 15 months of development, we opened the country's first specialist science school, 14 to 19. It's called the Liverpool Life Sciences School, 200 students, our first intake. And then we opened up the country's first school where students really do program, real programming, every day, and that's the Studio Liverpool.
Fantastic.
So we surround the schools with about 30 partner organisations. The students get 1 or 2 90-minute masterclasses from clinicians, geneticists, biochemists, entrepreneurs every week. We run 9 till 5. The extra 25% of the day they do project-based learning or they work on research projects. And I think we're the first school that we've embarked on another journey, which is to connect schools with universities. And we have 3 days a week a professor from Sheffield University, and he comes over with his PhDs, and our students get taught undergraduate science from age 14.
Okay. So this is Dave Hornby.
This is Dave Hornby. Yeah. I don't know if Dave's here today. But.
So he was, if he still is actually a Sheffield University
He's Sheffield
professor.
University.
Right.
And
is in chemistry.
Well, it's biology and biosciences. Here, this is our school, by the way. Those wonderful science labs are not out in one of our partner organisations. That's inside a comprehensive, non-selective state school.
Brilliant.
So we are constantly looking at how we can improve the experience.
Okay.
And I think there's something in securing that link between secondary schools and universities. These are the wonderful atriums at the North Liverpool Academy, and this is a lecture from an industry partner in the Studio School.
So it seems like the first chunk of your work was really taking a terrible situation and making it a whole hell of a lot better. In the second phase with the UTC and the Studio School, I guess you've effectively, I guess, innovating a different kind of education that's a lot more industry collaborative, if you will, as actually university collaborative as well, in the sense that you're headhunting, not, if you will, just typical people, but finding new folks, if you will, to the left of the map. So I guess where do you go from here? Are you once this is done? Is there a kind of vision for where you hope to, once you exit stage left from the scene, where will things be? Hopefully.
Well, hopefully there's a few more years before I exit stage left. We are working on our fourth school. We're going back to base 1. We're going back to underperforming school in a tough neighbourhood. So
Where's that going to be?
We've just it seems like a year ago, but it's 12 weeks ago. We started to integrate Wallasey High School on the Wirral.
Okay.
And we will be doing some interesting things. It's going to get relaunched in September as the Kingsway Academy. Why Kingsway? Well, a lot of the grandparents, the children who went to the school, dug the Kingsway Tunnel. So new school, new logo, new ambitions. And only the other day I was interviewing some postdoctorate computational chemists to come and teach in the school. So that should be, within one academic year, they're going from being in special measures to maybe something quite interesting and challenging. What's the forward ambition? 6 to 10 schools feels reasonable.
Okay.
I work closely with a small team of people, some who are here today. And I think it's quite important that all of us have skin in the game, and we all have a bit of personal input in the school. So I think if in 10, 12 years' time, when I decide to exit stage left, but not permanently stage left, we can look back and say 20,000 families, 10 schools, 20,000 families get access to what they deserve.
Brilliant.
And people do deserve world-class state education. It is not a luxury. It's something that people have the right to have access to.
So other than sending our kids to your schools, is there anything you would recommend to the parents out there, and maybe that might listen to this video in hopefully days, months, and years to come even?
Yeah,
about what they can be doing.
I think despite our sort of interplay, it's not difficult to do. There will be frustrations and disruptions along the way, but if you're energetic, educated, a good social network, the best thing you can do for yourself and for society is to get involved in your a local failing school, or even better, start one.
Nigel?
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.